You took your helping verbs quiz on Tuesday, and so now we're going to look at how helping verbs fit into sentences. We've already talked about action and linking verbs, so we're going to look at how we put helping verbs in the front of action verbs and linking verbs to make verb phrases. So as we go through our sentences, you're going to follow these directions. You're going to need a highlighter and a colored pen. You're going to highlight prepositional phrases because that helps us eliminate extra words and parts of sentences that are unneeded to help us find the subject, which we're going to label with an S, and the verb or the verb phrase, which we're going to label AV or LV. And we'll talk a little bit about how that looks. Before we get started, though, I would like for you to copy down, or not copy down, see if you can remember from memory the 23 helping verbs. Go ahead and pause the screencast to do that. If you need help, you can go to the first page of your grammar and writing section, and you should have a list of them. But if you put them all right here, then you'll have a quick, easy access to get to them. So again, pause the screencast while you do that. For our practice, we're going to go through the process on the first maybe 3 or 4, and then you will complete the other ones on your own. So sentence number 1 says, the Underground Railroad was operating in the mid-1800s. Step 1 was to find prepositional phrases. So I'm going to look for a preposition, one of those words that we memorized that shows a location or when or where something happened, and I see the word in. In the mid-1800s is a prepositional phrase, so I'm going to highlight it. And then reading what's left, the Underground Railroad was operating. I'm going to find my subject. And it's this entire proper noun here, the Underground Railroad. And I see that verb was. And now I have to think about whether it's a linking verb or a helping verb because we had memorized it on both lists. To decide if it's a linking verb, I would look after it to see if there's a predicate adjective or a predicate noun linking back to my subject, or else it's just by itself. Or is it with a verb, an action, or another linking verb? Was operating. Operating is an action that can be done. It has the helping verb in front of it, and we can see that we need that helping verb because we couldn't say the Underground Railroad operating. To make sense of that verb, we need it to say was operating. Now we have to decide, is this verb phrase used as an action or a linking verb? And we always look at that second verb, the main verb, to decide that. Operating is an action. It wasn't one of the words that we memorized on our list of linking verbs, so this whole verb phrase together is an action verb. Looking at our next one. Thousands of people were helped to freedom. Looking for my prepositions first, I see the one to. With to, I have to be careful. Is it followed by a verb? To do something? You can't freedom, so freedom is a noun. It's an abstract noun. So we're going to highlight that as a phrase. And I see another one of. Of what? Of people. And this is a good example of why we want to get rid of prepositional phrases, because it would be very easy to say that the subject is people, and I can see that it's not now. It has a separate job in the sentence as a object of a preposition. So I'm left with thousands were helped. Well, the subject is going to be thousands. And then I get over here to look at my verb. I see that verb were. Were could be a linking verb if it's by itself. So I look after it. Helped. That's an action. It's something that you can do. Were helped. So I can tell that together these verbs work together in a verb phrase. Thousands were helped. And it's an action verb because helped isn't one of those words that we memorized as a linking verb. Many runaway slaves would walk all night to get away. Looking for a preposition. I see to, so I want to think about what comes after it. Is there a noun after it or a verb? To get is a verb. So I'm going to put my brackets around it, and I know that I can get rid of everything after it. We're going to be left with many runaway slaves would walk all night. I want to think about who or what is that sentence about. It's about the slaves. And what is it saying about the slaves? The slaves would walk all night. Well, I recognize this helping verb as one of the verbs I memorized for my quiz on Tuesday. Would what? Would walk together. This acts as a verb for slaves. Together, they make an action verb. The slaves would walk. And then the last one we're going to do together before I let you go off on your own is number 4. During the day, they might have been seen by other people. I'm going to look for my prepositions first, get rid of all those extras. I see an introductory one here because of the comma. During the day. And I see by other people. And when I get rid of that, I'm left with they might have been seen. So I have to think about who or what is the sentence talking about. It's talking about they. And this one's a really interesting sentence because I see a lot of verbs here. We memorized might as a helping verb, have as a helping verb, and been we memorized as both a linking and a helping verb. So I want to look after it to see is there another verb after it, and I have seen. Well, I know that see is something that you can do. So this whole idea acts as a verb phrase. They might have been seen. And together I look at my last verb. See is an action. It's something you do with your eyes. Oops. And so this whole thing acts as an action verb. And I think I'm going to go back up here, and I want you to go back and do this too. Underline your verb phrase so that we can see how they work together. And then I want you to go back and complete the next 5 on your own, and we'll check them together next week sometime.